Hello to our community group teachers and leaders and participants. This is the Teaching Series Extra for Sunday, March 11th, 2018. We are moving closer and closer toward Easter Sunday. We're looking at the events in the last 36 hours of the life of Christ that will lead us up to the resurrection event, but we're also looking at Peter and how he was involved in those last events. Now, this is purposeful because not only is this leading us up to our Easter Sunday morning celebration, but looking beyond Easter, post-Easter, we're going to do a 17-week study on the book of First Peter. And Peter wrote that letter 20 years after these events that took place around the Jewish Passover, the year that Jesus was crucified. So 20-year gap. So we're getting to know Peter just a little bit, these most pivotal events of his life, and that will help us understand First Peter in context just a little bit better when we do that study. So we started with Jesus around the communion table with his disciples, around the Passover meal. Jesus talks with Peter about how Peter will fail him and how he can be forgiven because Jesus represents, and he is the exact representation of the living and giving God. So now Jesus is walking with his disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane. Because of the rigors of ministry and the rigors of life, Peter is asleep at the wheel, basically. Jesus says, "Stay awake and pray with me," and Peter and the other disciples fall asleep. We're going to talk about spiritual fatigue. Now, certainly the disciples were physically fatigued, but I think they were also spiritually fatigued, and we deal with that in our culture. In fact, if you ask somebody these days, "Hey, how you doing?" or "What's going on?" the response you're most likely to get is, "I'm busy." And by that we mean, "I'm tired." We live lives of continually being fatigued by the rigors of living. And so I want you to address this in your community groups. Just kind of deal with this idea. Are you spiritually fatigued? And what are some things that you can do to be spiritually nourished, to be spiritually and physically strengthened? Maybe it's some things you need to do. Maybe it's some things you need to stop doing. But we live lives that are continually drained. What can you do to replenish yourself spiritually? So we'll give you just a quick reference. This is a book by Richard Foster called Celebration of Discipline. It really is one of the classics of Christian literature in the 20th century. And he writes about some things that, 12 disciplines that spiritually nourish us and nurture us. Meditation, prayer, fasting, study, simplicity, solitude, submission, service, confession, worship, guidance, and celebration. Just think through that. Those are 12 core disciplines. Not each one of these will nourish you in the season of life that you're in, but some of these will. How can you allow God to nourish your spirit and to strengthen you so that you will not be physically and spiritually fatigued? Dallas Willard offers this, and I think this is sage advice. He said, we must relentlessly eliminate hurry from our lives. To eliminate hurry, to eliminate busyness, to step out of the cultural expectation of always being busy and always being tired and being refreshed in the presence of the Lord. So in your community groups and for you personally, what's one thing you can do to be spiritually nourished and to be watchful, to be awake, to be aware of God's presence and how He is living and how He is moving in our world today? May the Lord continue to bless you, and as always, it's a privilege to serve alongside you. I'll see you soon.